I asked all the members of my private school community, Mindset Skool, to give me the number one roadblock that was preventing them from starting an online business. The choices were imposter syndrome, analysis paralysis, overthinking, fear of failure, and perfectionism. 45% of the members voted overthinking as the number one mental roadblock that was preventing them from starting their own business. Overthinking is an absolute dream killer, and it will keep you stuck forever. What I have decided to do in this video is share with you one of the 18 lessons inside of my community, my course that's inside of Mindset Skool. It's called the Mindset Reset, and it's 18 roadblocks that keep you stuck, keep you spinning your wheels, and prevent you from moving forward and building a business. It's very, very short, and it's going to teach you about overthinking and some ways to overcome it. So we're going to define what it is, and we're going to give you some tactics that you can use to move forward in spite of having this overthinking hurdle, this roadblock. And if you want to check out Mindset Skool and get the entire course, I will drop a link in the description. I'm also going to leave a resource for you in the description because you'll see that I'm sharing my screen, and it's a document that you can absolutely have for free to check that out and to utilize that. And hopefully overthinking will no longer be a roadblock and you'll be able to move forward and start your business. I hope you enjoy the video. Here it is. Today we are going to tackle overthinking. Now, before we get into this, I realize all these roadblocks are going to be related, right? Like we talked about imposter syndrome and analysis paralysis already, and some of this stuff might sound repetitive. However, you'll get a different and fresh perspective in all these videos, and I'll do my best to talk about it from a different light, so that you don't feel like I'm talking about the same 18 things in all these videos. It won't feel that way, but you get what I'm saying. Overthinking related to analysis paralysis. This is just replaying ideas or decisions in your head once again without taking action. And the best way that I think that I've been able to describe this to other people is, especially as it relates to starting a business, right? You're getting into a side hustle, or you're taking action on what we teach you, which is to monetize what your existing skill set or a transformation that you went through, or a hobby or an interest that you have, is we get so far beyond the very first step that we need to take, which is just to decide on the idea. Like, hey, this is the business idea that I want to go with. I want to go in this direction. And then that all of a sudden becomes 50 steps down the line. And I've got a big business, and I got all these employees, and I've got all these potential problems coming at me, and I can get sued, and this can happen, and that can happen. How do I handle this scenario? And then all of a sudden, before you even know it, like, you've pitched the idea. It's like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, of course you can't, because you haven't gotten past step number one. And I think that's been helpful for a lot of the people that I've spoken with about that. And it's just, you just got to stay with what's in front of you, because whether you agree with it or not, you cannot possibly see 50 steps into the future. You just can't. And you're afraid of making the wrong move. And that's why you do that. That's why we go 50 steps into the future, is because we're just afraid to make the wrong move. And that usually just comes from past experience and the fear of failure. And you think that you need more time to get a better outcome, just like the research phase. More research will give me a better outcome. For me personally, the overthinking was related to me trying to control outcomes that I can't control, that cannot be controlled. One of the reasons that I quit the real estate business was because there were so many variables that I could not control, and it drove me absolutely bananas. Now, that wasn't the only reason. There were other reasons that I got out of the business, but that was one of them. And that business, that industry is very high level of things that you can't control, because you're dealing with human beings, and those human beings have lives that you have no control over whatsoever. And I said, I can't be in this business because of that. Like, I need to be in something where I have a little bit more, I feel like I at least have more control over the variables than something like real estate, which is like you really don't have any control over the variables. Now, no matter what business you pick, there's always going to be things that are out of your control, and you just have to accept that. But the way to reframe this is to just look at overthinking as a delay tactic. That's really all it is. And it's, you know, that goes back to fear and self-limiting beliefs and analysis, imposter syndrome, all that stuff. But it's just a tactic to delay making the decision. Action gives you feedback. So the more feedback you get, the more control you have, or the more control that you feel that you have, or the better you feel about, hey, this lack of control, if that makes sense. Hopefully that does. And you just need to start getting into the habit of making decisions and doing them faster. So an action step you could take, if it normally takes you like an entire day to make a decision on something, then do it in 15 minutes. Set a 15-minute window, give yourself that maximum amount of time to decide, and no more looping. Like, let's make a decision. And if you're the type of person that takes a week, then change this 15-minute to one day, right? Just do what works for you. Like, if it takes you a week to make a decision, I don't want you to go down to 15 minutes. That's unrealistic. That's a big ask of me. And then write down, again, this goes back to the journaling piece, write down what you can't control. And just do your best to let it go. A lot of the times when you're going through this overthinking phase, get it out. Like, what are the things that I'm concerned about? What am I worried about that could potentially happen? And write it out. Can you live with those scenarios if they were to occur? Like, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? Usually, and can you live with the worst case scenario? Usually you're somewhere in the middle, right? Usually. Sometimes you get the best case scenario, but very, very rarely do you get the worst case scenario. But if you go through that exercise, then you know what you potentially are getting. The downside is like, yeah, I kind of mapped this out. I feel good about it. Final thought, we're moving on. Your brain is not the place to solve everything. Your brain is not the place to solve everything. Use paper, use action. So go out there and get it done. Go out there and do it. That's how you break this overthinking cycle. And you will make decisions that might not be the best. But I think that that's always going to be better than overthinking stuff, overanalyzing, and being paralyzed and not doing anything, not taking any decision, not making any decisions at all, because this is a very, very uncomfortable place to be, which is just replaying these ideas or decisions in your head over and over without doing anything. Like, you got to move forward. All right. So CTA, call to action in the thread. Let's talk about some stuff that you've overthought in the past. What's one thing that you've been overthinking currently? And let's light up the thread. Let's try to decide on that today. And what are you going to do moving forward? See you in the next video.